Hey guys, welcome back to Off the Water. This is your host, Darth Yacker. Joining me tonight, as always, is my pal Tyler Caldwell. We also got a special guest with us, Jonathon Carter, joining us from 120 miles out in the Gulf. I know he didn't get there paddling. I understand he's got a Hobie. Got him out there even through these rough winds. So looking forward to talking to Jonathon tonight. Some of you may know if you fish Falling Tide or check out our Facebook page. Jonathon was fortunate enough to take second place slam at this past year's Falling Tide tournament. He's going to join us tonight and talk to us a little bit about, fishing the tournament, what he did, his strategy, and how he managed to come away with second place in such a good field of anglers. We've got some other really good things to talk about tonight. We're going to be updating everybody on the Angler of the Year prizes. We've got the final list of prizes given out for the Angler of the Year. We've got the last tournament coming up, the championship tournament, that will decide the first through fifth place prizes. First through fifth place participants who are going to take home some prizes. We're also going to be talking about the championship. We've got some interesting things coming out, some exciting news we're going to be talking about tonight, and we're going to also be getting into our nominations and elections. Normally, we have a lot of people not wanting to volunteer for officers. This year, we've got a glut of people. So real happy to see that. We're actually going to have an election this year for a position, and we'll talk a little bit about that part, what you can do if you want to participate in that. Lastly, if we have time, we're going to touch briefly on next year's tournaments. We've got the format coming up that we're looking at. Certainly, we want your input. We want to know what you guys like, where you like to fish, what you like to fish for, the formats that you like. Be real interested to see that. We start getting that information together now so we can start setting the tournaments soon. There's a lot of things that go into this. It's a matter of scheduling and coordinating, not only with like the Lafayette Club, but there's also IFA. There's some bigger tournaments out of state. We try to do our best to avoid the holidays and things of that nature. So we start planning them now, even for tournaments that are going to take place, a year from now. So really want to get your input on that. If we have time, feel free to post your comments on the message board. Tyler will read them out, and we can certainly discuss that. So real quick, though, before we get into Falling Tide, which I know we're all anxious to get back to and kind of relive a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit about a former guest we had on, current Bayou Coast member. We never know what these people are that are in our club. We've got electricians and plumbers and lawyers and accountants and just all kinds of people. Jonathon's an offshore guy. He's working out there. We're going to learn a little bit about that. One of the guys, though, I'm not going to mention his name. I don't want to embarrass him, but he's a Purple Heart recipient. He was in the military, served a couple tours over. I think he was Afghanistan or Iraq. I didn't know this about him, even though I've gotten to know him a little bit more recently. And he was in a gunner, I think a machine gunner in a Humvee, and his Humvee actually got hit by 2 RPGs. And he shared that video with me. And, just to see him keep his cool through all that, I know if I'm in the marsh and I hear a gun go off, I'm ducking for cover and I'm trying to lay down as low as I can because I don't know where those bullets are coming from. This guy's in a Humvee. An RPG hits the Humvee. They keep going. He's still, up there. He's still looking around. He's still trying to do his best. It wasn't until they got out of danger that you can really tell what was going on and that he was injured. And he hurt his knee pretty good. So, if you get a chance and you're at these tournaments, you can find out a lot about people just sitting down and talking to them. And that's one of the things that makes our club great. And one of the things that he relayed to me recently was that he loved the club. I think he loved being in the military because of the camaraderie and the friendships that were made and a feeling like they were all in it together. And he didn't say it to me, but I think when he got out the military, he found something kind of similar in this club because, we're all in it together. We're all looking out for each other. We're all trying to help each other. And we're all kind of in it to make this club great. Now, certainly I'm not comparing a fishing club to the military. I mean, that would be completely inappropriate. But I think some of the relationships that you have, some of the friendships that you can make and everything, it's kind of an interesting comparison. So, I wanted to thank that member online for his service, everything he did. Certainly, I'll try to help him out any way I can, although he seems to be doing pretty well on his own so far. But Fallen Tide, We ended up, it was a little nerve wracking the day before. We had some bad weather coming in, and we were thinking, it's just going to be typical old fallen tide Paddlepalooza weather. But it cleared up on Saturday. I thought for the most part, Tyler, I think you'd agree. I think the weather was pretty nice.
Yeah, a little breezy, but it was really a lot better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, I don't recall us getting any rain that day. I think it even started warming up a little bit later in the morning.
Yeah, it was no rain, nice, cool, comfortable temperature.
Yeah. I started out, I fished Lake Hermitage. A lot of people were fishing out of there. And it's a little bit of a drive from Venice, but, I knew the redfish were out there. We did real well out there for Rumble on the River. And the trout had started showing up. So I felt pretty good. I could get a trout, redfish, and hoping for the flounder. And I kind of made some bad decisions early. The trout bite, at least what I had seen, was a little bit later in the morning. And I decided to go for the trout first. And I didn't catch a trout for the first 3.5 hours. And I went way out hoping to catch a bigger trout, lost a lot of time, came back in, decided to go get my redfish, caught my redfish in like 30 minutes. And then by then it was noon and I was struggling to catch a flounder. I only had about an hour and a half to catch a flounder. We had to get back for the weigh-in. I think if I had kind of maybe rearranged some things and focused on trout mid-morning, maybe I would have had a little bit better chance. But, it happens. You take a chance and you go out there and you try to, go for the gusto and you end up missing a few things. But, overall, I saw some really nice fish brought in. Certainly we had a lot of redfish come in. I want to say we had a number of redfish. The top 5, I think, were all over 7 pounds. There were some nice slot redfish brought in. A lot of flounder, more flounder than I thought we were going to get coming in. And we had some trout, obviously. And then we had guys that went out there, caught their flounder and redfish, couldn't catch a trout, or caught a trout and a flounder, couldn't catch a redfish. And it's funny on those kind of days when everybody thinks you're looking for the flounder and you got some of those guys that got the flounder and just can't find one of those other 2 fish. But overall, we had I think 102 people sign up for the tournament. Tyler, is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and we had some awesome captain's bags this year. Fallen Tide is usually the little brother to Paddlepalooza. Paddlepalooza is our big one, but I thought the captain's bags out this year were outstanding. Big thanks to Aaron LaRose, our sponsor coordinator, for getting a lot of that stuff put together, and for our other officers, Eric Stacy and the Little Rascals for cooking. They did a great job. Josh Thompson and Todd Lewis and Chuck for weighing in the fish, and Jason Bain for getting all the raffle stuff together. Everybody really contributed. We had a lot of volunteers, so it really went well. The captain's bags, though, I mean, we got a T-shirt. I think we had some gulp bait provided to us by one of our sponsors, Pure Fishing. Some new Death Grip jig heads. Is that right?
Yeah, 4 Horseman cork.
4 Horseman cork, and I think some other people were lucky enough. If you were one of the early guys registering, you also got some additional soft plastics in there. So it was a really good captain's bag. I was very happy with it. I'm still kind of going through it and looking to see what I plan on using here coming up this week. But let's go over to Jonathon now. Jonathon, I know you've said, we were talking a little bit before, you were originally from Houston, Texas. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Been fishing ever since I was a little kid. Fishing everywhere from as far south as Corpus Christi all the way up to Galveston a lot. That was me and my buddies every weekend. We'd get together and go fishing if we could.
Yeah. And you went to college, I understand, at Texas Tech?
Yep. Way out in West Texas.
And normally I don't keep up with Texas Tech, but you guys were paying Les Miles this weekend. Right? Les Miles is Jayhawks?
Yeah, something like that.
That was a crazy ending to a football game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see the game?
I saw part of it.
So for anybody who didn't catch the game, let me kind of put it in reference for you guys. So it's Les, and crazy things happen when Les Miles is coaching your team. So Kansas and Texas Tech are tied, and Kansas is lining up for like a 40-yard field goal to win the game. Few seconds remaining. They kick the ball. They kick the field goal. It's blocked at the line of scrimmage, but continues forward. It's recovered by someone from Texas Tech. The Texas Tech guy starts running it back like he's going to score, right? Inexplicably, he laterals the ball to no one behind him. It's recovered by a Kansas player who then goes on to take the ball to the ground and let Kansas kick the game-winning field goal to win the game. If you've ever watched any LSU games with Les Miles, this sort of thing happened to us once a year. You should have lost the game, and for some unknown reason, the less magic takes place and you end up winning. So, but anyway, I thought the only reason I mentioned that is just because I saw that play from this weekend. It was pretty crazy. So you from Texas, and then you and your wife moved down to Louisiana.
So I actually met my wife in Louisiana, but the Texas Tech Kansas game, that's Texas Tech football for you right there.
Well, you fired your head coach, and now he's coaching the Cardinals.
Yeah. Got to go to the Saints game on Sunday and watch them in action.
Interesting. So, what brought you down to New Orleans?
Work. So I was based out of Houston for a while, and then moved to New Orleans about 5 years ago. Pretty much as soon as I moved, I realized the fishing scene in New Orleans and Louisiana was very different from what I was used to. My only real experience with kayaks back in Texas was kayaking out big dead baits for big bull redfish and sharks. And one of my favorite things growing up was fishing the flounder run every year. So I've always had a lot of fun targeting flounder. In Texas, especially around the Galveston area, I mean, we catch a lot of big flounder, which I come to find out in Louisiana is not always the case. There's a couple little areas that seem to be flounder magnets.
Yeah,
but it's definitely different.
That Texas border over Lake Charles, you can do some flounder, and I think out in the lake, Lake Pontchartrain, they'll catch some flounder, but the bigger flounder anyway. So certainly knowing how to catch flounder probably assisted you greatly in these slam tournaments.
It did. Well, so actually the first kayak fishing tournament I fished with Bayou Coast was Paddlepalooza last year. And I ended up winning big trout, which I caught the big trout literally 10 minutes into the tournament, a nice 24.5-inch trout, which up to that point in Louisiana, that was the second biggest trout I'd caught in Louisiana. So I figured that I was probably going to be good there.
That was the second biggest trout you caught in Louisiana, was a 24-inch trout?
Yeah, I'd caught a 26 in the winter before that.
Jesus.
That's what I like to do is go after big trout and flounder. Redfish, I haven't quite figured them out as much.
Well, if you can figure out catching 26-inch trout and big flounder, I think the redfish is going to come easy for you,
Maybe one day.
It took me all my life to catch a trout, 26 plus. So you come out here and catch it right away. That's really remarkable. It's that's a big trout. 24 inches is a huge trout as well. I think I remember that. Was that like a 5-pound trout?
Yeah, I think it was like 4 3/4 or something like that. It was super fat fish.
Did you catch him by the rocks?
Yep, on a topwater in the dark.
I'll tell you why I remember that. Because I took second place big trout at that tournament out of Palooza last year. And I said, I had a nice trout. And I was like, I got back in and I saw, I think Brock actually may have had third place big trout that year. I got back in and I saw that trout. So I got no chance in that. That thing was massive. But I remember somebody catching a big trout. And it was like 4 or 5 pounds. And I thought what I remember was someone catching it at the pass at Grand Isle.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually that morning I had 4 trout 20 inches plus in about a 45-minute time. I couldn't leave them alone. I had to keep fishing there for a little while, which going back to your whole strategy thing earlier, I wasted some time there doing that and fished the whole rest of the day hard and did not catch another fish the whole rest of the day.
Oh my God, that sucks. Yeah, it's
not even a bite.
It's tough when you get on a bite like that with trout like that. If you're catching trout 20 plus inches, you're almost
on top water.
On top water, I'm not, screw it. I'm just going to fish here for big trout all day. I don't care if I win slam or not. I'm going to sit here. Who knows? Maybe you catch a 26, 27, 28 incher. It's hard to leave at that. The fact that you left is pretty impressive. I would think pretty impressive.
Oh, I definitely had a strategy.
Yeah. So big trout at Paddlepalooza last year. This was your first year fishing fall and tide.
Yep. I didn't get to fish fall and tide last year. Had to go to work, so got to miss out on that one, unfortunately. really Highway 23 is where I like to fish most of my time.
Okay.
I live in New Orleans, so we fish Highway 23 a lot. The past year, I've started fishing around the Hopedale Shell Beach area a good bit as well, just to try to learn something a little bit different.
Yeah, a lot of great places to fish down Highway 23. And what I find, it's not nearly as it doesn't have as much traffic as, say, Hopedale, Delacroix. I mean, could you get a lot of boats that fish over there?
Yeah.
Especially Highway 23, not nearly as many, and you can really kind of slip off into the marsh and not be too worried about it. One of the things I don't, and Delacroix is a great fishery, but one of the things I don't like launching out Delacroix is it's just got boats everywhere, and the grass. I hate grass, but it's a whole other story.
That's where I hear the redfish are. I haven't quite figured that out, but
yeah, I'll tell you what. You show me how to catch flounder, I'll show you where to go catch redfish in Delacroix.
That's a deal.
That's a nice even swap. I know Tyler's got a few good holes over in Delacroix as well. I'm sure he wouldn't mind showing you for a flounder spot or two, right, Tyler?
That sounds like a good trade to me.
It seems like a great trade. I suspect he's going to have a lot of text messages after this show offering to show him some great redfish spots for a flounder hole.
Yeah, maybe so.
So what was you had pre-fished a little bit before falling tide?
No, so I actually didn't. I really wanted to. I ended up not getting able to. The only, I guess, pre-fishing you could call was I did fish the Redfish Rumble tournament. And, I had some buddies who went to Hopedale. I had fished Hopedale a couple weeks before that and caught some really nice redfish. So I knew what was there, but I kind of wanted to scout out some different places a little bit further south around Venice. Fished hard all day, caught a lot of reds. I think I caught like maybe 15, 16 reds, but everything was small. So
really?
I knew that was the only Highway 23 fishing I had done really in a couple months.
Yeah.
But I knew to stay away kind of from that area down in Venice. I know there's big redfish there and people catch them. I couldn't quite figure it out. So I went back to what I knew.
Okay. So what did you decide to do as far as falling tide, as far as your strategy? You figured out where you wanted to launch and kind of how you wanted to target the fish and what order?
Yeah, so I knew probably early on I wanted to try to go after a trout early just to try to get it done out of the way, and usually I can get that part of it done, and then after that just target flounder and maybe hopefully catch a redfish or something like that. I looked around the conditions, and first thing I did is I decided I was going to launch at Joshua's Marina. So I stayed there the day before the tournament so I could get down there and kind of get set up and everything. And the water was way, way higher than I thought it was going to be. I stayed at those little cabins behind the marina.
Yeah.
And there was 6 inches of water directly underneath those camps. And right at the edge, there was 1 foot to 2 foot of water above the little levee right there. So I was able to launch just right there, first thing in the morning, right out the back of the camp.
That's awesome. So you ended up fishing out of Joshua's that morning. Okay. Yeah, I know a few people fish out of Joshua's. Some good results, some nice flounder caught out of that area as well. So did you go out? You were able to catch that trout first thing like you planned?
Yes. So I started fishing for hopefully a trout, maybe a flounder pretty early. I started fishing right at 5 o'clock. Had the first trout by 5:30, which I think ended up being my biggest trout. I caught 3 or 4 other trout incidentally just throughout the rest of the day. But I think that was the biggest one that I caught. So pretty quick after that, I swapped to just targeting flounder. And in my experience, I've always done best catching flounder right at the very tail end of a falling tide. And I think on that day, the falling tide wasn't supposed to stop till maybe like noon, something like that. So I figured it probably wouldn't really turn on until later in the day, but just give it a shot anyways, and fished all that marsh. Didn't catch any flounder, didn't catch any redfish for several hours. Kept fishing around by like where those islands and all the marsh and all that in Joshua's is. Caught a couple redfish, a couple smaller redfish. I hooked a couple really nice redfish that were probably upper slot, maybe a little bit over, but got broken off on 2 of them. So that kind of that hurt. Ended up hurting a lot worse towards the end after I actually did catch a flounder.
Yeah.
I fished around for a while. I saw Brock and talked to him for a little bit actually, and then kind of left that
where Brock was fishing.
That area and headed north. And I headed north, started fishing some other areas. I saw some areas that I figured would probably hold some flounder. Within about 10 minutes, caught a flounder. And flounder are especially this time of year, they're almost always stacked up in little pockets. So I kept fishing that same area and ended up catching 4 flounder within about the 30-minute time period. It was just a quick bite, and I lost probably $20 worth of tackle and all the junk that I was fishing. And finally I just said, okay, enough's enough. I got to go try to catch a bigger redfish to try and upgrade. And that was kind of it.
So how big was your trout?
I think it was like 1.25 pounds, something like that. Like decent little early fall
15
trout.
inches, 15, 16
Yeah, it's
inches?
like 15, 16 inches.
Yeah. And your flounder was what size?
I think it was like 18 inches.
That's a nice flounder.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice flounder. It was like maybe 3 pounds, I think, 2.8, 3 pounds, something like that.
And I guess your red was what killed you? It was a smaller red?
I think it was like, well, I thought it was a pretty decent red for me, but it was only 6 pounds. When I saw all the other, it was like 6.5, something like that. But there was a lot of really good redfish weighed in.
Oh, I mean, but really, if I'm sitting there thinking I got a 16-inch trout, 18-inch flounder, and a 6 and something pound red, I'm feeling pretty good about that. I mean,
I was pretty excited.
I bet you
to say the least.
I bet you were. I mean, a lot of those flounder that come in are, those little potato chips, you get them 12, 13 inches. I'm happy if you get one like this 12 and you figure, well, even if he shrinks, he ain't going to shrink below 11 because I got an extra inch to you get a little
spare room.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So you come in, you were feeling pretty good about yourself, about your chances of at least, figuring you probably get at least place in the tournament. You get nervous at all when you get in and start seeing some of the other fish?
I did a little bit. I saw more flounder than I expected. And then I definitely saw some of the nice redfish that people had. And, I was kind of thinking, man, I don't know. We'll see. I figured I did pretty good. I called my wife shortly after I'd weighed in and told her I had done well, and I was excited, and she was excited for me. And the first question, of course, was, what are the prizes?
What are the prizes? They don't care about fishing at all, but they want to know what the prizes are.
No, not at all. And big thanks to the Backpacker for supporting the club and supporting these tournaments. And I told her how the prizes were, and I told her third place was the gift card to the Backpacker. Yeah. She said, "Ooh, I hope you get third place." And I said, No, that's not the way this works.
No, I mean, look, that third place gift card, you think there's a lot of nice things you get the Backpacker. I mean, besides from kayaks and accessories, they got clothing and skiing and shoes and just a lot of great things. And appreciate you mentioned kind words about Backpacker and, Brock's over there, Hobie especially. I mean, these tournaments wouldn't be what they are without sponsors like that pitching in and helping us out. Did you end up staying for the weigh-in and the raffle and everything that night?
Oh yeah, I did. It was an awesome experience. First time fishing fall and tide. It was a ton of fun. Did
you stay at Venice that night, or did you drive back somewhere?
No, I ended up staying just back at Joshua's again.
Yeah. It's I think we were up a little late that night, just picking up and stuff. So if you ever get a chance to actually stay at the weigh-in, that's key.
Yeah,
that's key, especially after such a long day. And I just find it's the safest thing to do.
I was exhausted. I wanted to drive home, just being in New Orleans, but even then, it's an hour and a half drive to my house from there, so it was too far for me after that.
Yeah. And so, we always look at things like that. I mean, that's a big discussion point for the officers every year about that. And certainly, we had some high water at Venice this year. I mean, it was crazy. Leaving Sunday, we were going through 10 inches of water just to get out of there.
Yeah, super high water.
Super high. So you want a brand new Hobie Compass. So what type of kayaker do you fish out of now?
So I still have a Hobie Outback, a 2019 Hobie Outback.
Oh, well, yeah.
I bought a new kayak just about every other year since I moved here. I was used to wade fishing, and wade fishing in the marsh in Louisiana doesn't really work out as well as you think it would.
No, it doesn't. But Compass is a nice little kayak. It's a good, secondary kayak. I keep a spare, and I know a lot of the guys in the group keep these older ones just when they're taking out friends or family, or maybe sometimes the wives want to go pedaling around in the lake or something like that. So hopefully you get some use out of it one way or the other. Well, look, we got a lot of things to cover tonight. I want you to feel free to stay on and kind of comment if you want, but I know you're on the rig. So if you have to go, we understand, but we're going to be covering some things. So certainly we want to get your input if you want to stick around with us for a little while. Okay,
yeah,
great.
Sure thing. I'm done working for the day, so I'm here till we're done.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, before we get off the subject of Fallen Tide, I want to announce the rest of our winners. We've got in the Leopard Red category, I'm going to have to read down here a little bit. 5th place, Leopard Red, Dan Robdale. Congratulations, Dan. 4th place, Tyler Caldwell. 3rd place, Chris Cox. I think we got a Kyle Traylor and Eric Green. For some reason, the spreadsheet I was given was real small. So Saddle Flounder, Toby Armand, Todd Lewis, 4th place, Saddle Flounder. Stephen DeWin, 3rd place. Kyle Oob, 2nd place. 1st place, Steve Roberts. Mule Trout, Josh Red, 5th place. Benton Parrott coming in from Florida, 4th place. Aaron LaRose, 3rd place. Brendan Bayard, 2nd place. And Jonathan Squints Vanoy, 1st place, Mule Trout. The Big Red category, 5th place, Victor Diaz. 4th place, Bubby Douglas. 3rd place, Jason Bain. 2nd place, Jonathan Kraft. And 1st place, On Win. I'm seeing a lot of officers on this. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 officers placed in this tournament. Very good, very good. Cajun Slam category. That's our big category. So let me take a little bit look at our spreadsheet here. We can go take a look at that. So we had some really good slams brought in. I know Aaron and Todd had just finished out the top 5 at 6th and 7th, 7.22 and 7.13. But 5th place, Doug Menifee had a total slam of 7.36 pounds. 4th place, Mickey, I'm going to butcher this name, so I apologize. Marchafava, 7.87 pounds. 3rd place, Gavin Billiot, 8.65 pounds. Jonathan Carter, our guest here tonight, 2nd place, 9.74 pounds. And Terry Pham. Terry, incredible slam here. He had a slam of 11.48 pounds. That was really anchored by a huge flounder he caught. It was 3.65 pounds. So congratulations to Terry. He took home first place prize. It was a brand new pro angler. I think it was camo colored. So I know he was pretty excited about that. He was playing coy the whole day, telling me he didn't catch anything. He was struggling, da-da-da-da-da. He ends up coming in with a really nice flounder. Nice size red too, 6.8 pounds. Trout was okay, 1.03 pounds, but really a 3.65 pound flounder down Highway 23 is real nice. So one other thing to mention was kind of interesting. I think we may have broken a club record for Leopard Red. Gavin Billiot took 3rd place overall for the slam category because it was the higher paying category. He won the $1,000 gift card to Backpacker, but he had a 61 spot Leopard Red. That obviously would have taken him 1st place in Leopard Red category, but because the slam category was a little bit better paying category, he got moved over into the slam category. But 61 spots. I think Tyler's got a picture of that up there. Just an incredible, redfish number of spots. Certainly the most I've ever seen brought in on a tournament. So again, congratulations to all our winners. Congratulations to you, Jonathan. Big congratulations to Terry. I know he's been fishing hard. He says he never doesn't pre-fish or scout, but I know he does. But congratulations to you, Terry, man. That was just a great award, a great slam for you on Fallen Tide. So kind of moving on a little bit, the next thing, talk about Angler of the Year. I know a lot of you guys don't get the opportunity to fish a lot of these tournaments. If you do, you're interested in fishing them. Next year you get to drop a tournament from the 5 tournaments that we fish. So if you want to fish them next year, you have any questions about the format, you can go on the website bayoucoast.com and look at events. Tyler's got it all spelled out as far as how the events work and how the points work. And so this year we have some great prizes for our 1st through 5th place winners. 5th place, and these are all prizes provided to us by a great sponsor, Pack and Paddle. They're one of the kayak shops out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Really great company over there. Great people working over there. Love going over there. I stop by anytime I'm in town. And they've donated a lot of these prizes for 2nd through 5th year. So fifth place, we have a douche rod. It's $150 value. Fourth place, we got a Yak Attack lithium battery, VisiPole, and 2 Omega rod holders, pro rod holders. That's a $285 value. Third place, we got a Hobie all cargo cooler, a Hobie inflatable PFD, and a Sea Tug cart, $350. Second place is a Sims shopping spree and St. Croix Mojo yak rod. That is a $550 value. I think the Sims shopping spree may be $400. I'm not sure, maybe $500. Have to take a look at that, but that's a $550 value. And first place is provided by the club, and that is a $1,000 cash to the Angler of the Year. So last year's Angler of the Year, I'm looking at the thing now, is Steve Lassard. Big congrats to Steve. He's in the running again, I think sitting in second place right now, tied for second. So again, big thanks to Pack and Paddle and John Williams over there for donating these prizes to us. Looking forward to giving them away at the end of the year. I think the 1st through 5th, it's a tight race. It's going to be decided really by the end of the year tournament. I think we have 8 or 9 people, all vying for those top 5 places. So the championship tournament, more likely than not, is going to determine, who's going to walk away with $1,000 and who's going to walk away with those other prizes. So, speaking of that, we've got the championship coming up, and this has been a really, really great year for the club for the tournaments. We've got, I don't know if it's a record number of people attending. Tyler, I don't know if we keep records of going back to all the tournaments we've had. We've had different formats, different tournaments, different times of the year, but we've had four qualifying tournaments, which have been Minimalist Challenge, Trout Challenge, Double Trouble, and Rumble on the River this year. The 5th one being the championship now. And we had such good turnouts. We're actually going to be able to pay 5 places this year for the championship, which is pretty good considering it's going to only be 40 people who qualified for the championship. The 5 places guaranteed right now. The top 3 places are guaranteed payouts of $2,000 for first, $1,500 for second, $1,000 for third. 4th place, it's estimated right now at about $440, I think, and $200 for 5th place. There's also going to be some Calcuttas for big trout, big redfish. It's $10 a piece, completely voluntary if you want to fish those, but it could be some really nice prizes. So even if you don't end up in the top 5 or you don't end up in the top 10, if you catch a nice trout, a 24-inch trout out there, which I wouldn't be surprised if we do. November in Leeville is a great place to fish for big trout that time of year. But you catch a big trout, everybody signs up for big trout, and most people normally do. That's $400 cash. Same thing with big red. You're looking at about $400 cash. The other big thing we have coming up, and this is for everybody participating in the tournament, will get a free T-shirt. So we've got Brendan Bayard has designed us a T-shirt for the championship this year. And so the club's kind of gone out a little bit, spent a little money, and we are buying T-shirts for everybody to kind of commemorate the championship and them coming out fishing.
Is it a T-shirt or is it long sleeve? I wasn't sure.
Brendan's making that decision, I think. I forget what it was. Yeah. But speaking of those T-shirts at Fallen Tide were nice.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I was wondering, I don't know if Aaron had told us, or maybe you have some notes over there, but don't we usually get contingency prizes for the championship?
I think we do. I don't have that. We'll talk about it on our next podcast. We'll have another podcast the Tuesday before the championship, but I think we do have some contingency prizes. We'll certainly have to check on that and see. So just real quick, there was some confusion, the rules a little earlier. This tournament is it's a championship. It's our championship. It's kind of a accumulation of everything we've done over the year, a celebration at the end of the year. And we're a kayak fishing club. And so one of the things we've done for our championship, we don't do this for any of the other tournaments, but for the championship, we ask that none of the participants scout out of a boat or a motorized vessel, kayak with a trolling motor or a torpedo or scouting in a boat. The reason we do that is because it is a kayak club and we want everybody to be on an equal playing field for the championship. So, a lot of our members love to fish. They've got the trolling motors, they've got boats and stuff like that. Some of our members don't. And we really want everybody to have an equal chance to go out there to scout and to be able to hopefully, win this prize, which of course we've got the championship belt, which, everybody really wants. We're going to have some really nice plaques, some big prize money, etc. So there was actually a miswording in the rules. If you look under there today, I think the boating lane we're starting, I think Tyler says tomorrow. Normally it's usually right when the rules go up, we ask everybody to cease scouting from boats. But in this case, because the rules were, I think, misworded a little bit or poorly worded, and I take responsibility for that, it's going to start tomorrow. So please don't scout out of a boat. Also, please note that the dead period we have for scouting will start November 6th, usually about 10 days before the tournament. You can't go out there and fish. You can't go out there and scout. You can't go look for redfish. And that's within a 5-mile radius of Topwater Marina. So you can still go to Golden Meadow. You can still go down to Grand Isle if you want. Just don't go to Topwater. Don't fish in that area. And it's only for 10 days. Then everybody will be allowed to fish the day before the tournament, that Friday. We give enough notice, so if people want to take off, it's a good time to come out. If you come out Thursday night, we're going to have food out there. If you want to stay Friday night, we're going to have food out there. So, we're going to be cooking up, gumbos and pork roast. And I think Terry mentioned something about bringing some egg rolls and some Boston butt. I think he said he might smoke some Boston butt. So we're going to have a lot of good food out there. Thursday night's usually the night to have fun. Hopefully we'll have the little bar area open under Topwater, and we get a lot of people out there, and they'll sit out and have a few drinks, tell some lies, some fishing stories, etc. Kind of get up a little late on Friday, not too late, but get up a little late, kind of pal around a little bit, do a little scouting, and get back in early, because Saturday is going to be a grind. I mean, Saturday, I think we've got launch time set at 6 a.m. If I'm right, Tyler. I think it's 6.
I think so.
And I think we fish till 3. So you're going to have a good 9 hours, and double check the rules on that, but you can have a good 9 hours. And the way it's going to work, it's going to be a shotgun launch out of Topwater. And we want everybody there at the time to sign in. If you're not able to get there, if you're running late, give me a call. My cell phone number's on the rules. We just want to make sure everybody's launching from the same area, roughly around the same time. But you're going to be able to go across the street if you want. You're going to be able to tow your kayak with some wheels, go and launch on the other side of Topwater if you want. So as long as you don't tow your boat anywhere in a truck or anything, you'll be fine. So some other big news we're going to have. Thanks to Cabela's, our great sponsors over at Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops, they are donating some prizes for the championship. So this is going to be a free raffle for everybody that participates and that hangs around for the award ceremony. Now it's not going to be small bags of bait. It's not going to be hooks. It's not going to be, little items. We're probably going to do 4 or 5 really nice items. I'm not going to say what they are yet, but you're definitely going to want to stick around. I mean, if you know kind of the grand prizes that we do at the end of Fallen Tide and Paddlepalooza, maybe something similar to that, some of the really nice prizes you'll see over there. I think especially with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, I think a lot of you guys will be real happy with what we're giving out. So if you're fortunate enough, and you want to stick around and see the award ceremony, you'll have a chance at, I think, walking home, at least if you don't place, maybe with some really nice prizes. And again, that's going to be a free raffle for everybody. Next year, we haven't decided the format or location for the championship yet, when it will be. We're going to see how everything plays out this year. Got some big news for next year, though. Got it. Tyler, can you tease them a little bit? I know we're not going to announce it yet. I know we're going to announce it, but I think it's official now. So maybe, I know this is something Tyler's been working on for a little while now. So maybe Tyler could give us a little tease about our championship next year and maybe what first place may take home.
I would say first place could potentially be nearly double of what it's paying out now.
Yeah.
Total dollar value.
I would say probably double. Yeah. Cash and prizes, I'm really excited for next year. I mean, this was huge. Tyler has been working on this for a while, and he finally got us a new sponsor, and we're excited to make the announcement. Can't make it yet, Tyler. He brought it in, so he's going to make the decision when we're going to announce it. It may be after the championship. Who knows? Maybe he'll announce it at the championship. We don't know yet. But for you guys who haven't heard yet, y'all are going to be excited to hear about it. You're really going to want to fish the championship next year. Again, I think we'll probably have. I mean, first place could be worth $4,000, $4,500, something like that, just depending on the cash value. et cetera. So that's going to be big. We're also working on some big things next year. A couple other things not quite confirmed yet. We're still waiting on that. Hopefully we'll be able to announce something before the end of the year. But I think that's going to be a really big deal for the club if we get it. And but we don't want to say anything yet. So, okay, nominations and elections. I think we've got pretty much most of the people have been nominated this year. And Tyler, you may be able to fill us in, but I think we've got Josh Thompson has been nominated for re-election as president.
Yes. And
Jason Bain, I know, as treasurer. Jason's been doing such a great job as treasurer, and he's working on some things for us. Todd Lewis, I think, is sponsor coordinator.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Michael Etheridge has been nominated as sponsor coordinator too.
That's right. We got Brendan Bayard for vice president.
Brendan Bayard for vice president. Brendan's getting back on board. He's got some ideas. He wants to, and Brendan's a great guy. He's been with the club a long time. He's got some really good ideas he wants to share and kind of get back involved. Then I think our own Tyler, is going to be the secretary, but mostly he's our IT guy. You know, he's in charge of everything electronical. I don't even, is that a word? Electronical? I don't know. Electronical in the club. So Tyler's going to be in charge of that.
That wine looks good.
It is good. It is good. It's good. I know you can't have any though.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Why don't you share everybody with what our $2.50 a gallon gas is paying for these days for dinner?
Oh, don't do that to me.
Oh, come on now. You know, we all know these guys that works on rigs.
No, $2.50 gas isn't bad.
What's that?
I said $2.50 gas isn't bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I just think that maybe if y'all were having ham sandwiches, I'd be paying $1.50.
Yeah, maybe so. But I like prime rib. You like prime rib?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this. I know y'all were eating, I think you said fried shrimp. I don't know if y'all launched out of Louisiana. Did they label it? Did they tell you if those shrimp were Louisiana shrimp or not? Because they're supposed to label them nowadays.
I'd be surprised if they're Louisiana shrimp.
Well, they could have been Alabama shrimp, though.
They could be.
You think they were like overseas shrimp?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I just like to eat them.
I know the way those companies spend money. They're not buying any really cheap imported shrimp. They're getting the good stuff. They're getting the local Louisiana Gulf Coast shrimp. I'm sure y'all get crab legs out there too, don't you?
Ooh, that's a rare occasion. You got to get.
Yeah, but y'all do though, don't you?
I've had it a time or two.
Man, I've heard some stories. Crazy thing. It turns out that Jonathon's actually out there. I said, Jonathon, you know, hundreds of rigs out in the Gulf. I said, I got some friends. He says, I don't know if you got anybody you know that works on rigs. I said, I do. I've got a good friend of mine. His name's so-and-so. I just saw so-and-so 30 minutes ago. He's the same damn rig I'm on. You know, it's just a small world out there. So
yeah, we got 200 people out here. So there's quite a few of us running around.
You pulled the plug. We talked for a few minutes. I saw you disappeared and said I was the host. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we're gonna keep on going. Tyler's gonna have his work cut out. He's gonna have to do some more editing again this week.
It was all those electronical things.
Damn gremlins.
It's because we got so sidetracked from talking about officer nominations to soft shell crab legs to soft shell crab to tuna fishing.
No, we were talking about crab legs, not soft shell crab legs.
I know. And then
crab legs.
We didn't even talk about the big to do, which is the runoff between Chuck and Dan Rodbell. We
were getting there, but I'd prefer talking about catching tuna at night than we're talking about elections. But you know, we got to get to that. We got to get to that. So anyway, those rigs look like small cities out there in the Gulf in the middle of the night. I mean, they're just lit up and it's like a safe haven. But we'll talk about tuna another night. We'll do that. So we've got an election this year. Chuck Bahan, who is currently assistant tournament director 2, is in a runoff with Dan Robdell. So they both, I think, posted their platforms on Facebook. Both really good guys. Certainly if you have any questions, you can go on and you can look at their platforms and what they'd like to do and what they're interested in doing. They're both very actively involved in the club. So I don't think you could go wrong with either guy. As an officer and as the host here, I'm not going to take sides or anything like that, but I really don't think you could go wrong with either guy. They both are actively involved in the club. They love the club. They love fishing in the club, and I think either of them would do a really good job. So, take a look. If you have any questions, you can contact them. Tyler, where do people vote for that? It's going to be on the forum or the Facebook or where?
Yeah, I think nominations are open actually through
October 31st.
Midnight on October 31st. So I guess it's tomorrow night.
And do you know when the voting takes place?
It'll be posted immediately after that, I think, in the club member section of the forum. So only you're allowed to vote if you're a club member.
So you have to be a paid club member for that. And you can go on BayouCoast.com. Certainly, we've talked a lot about the membership and the privileges it has and everything. So we're not going to talk about that again tonight. So, certainly go on there, participate
on the board too. I mean, there's still time to nominate. Still have another day. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So if there's somebody else out there you think would make a good officer, get them on. And look, even if they don't become an officer, we still like having people. We have like these little committees sometimes. So you may have an officer who's heading up a special project, and he needs some help on that. And so he'll get a couple of guys coming in. They'll certainly help him out, and they'll get involved. Just people want to help out, and maybe they don't have time to be a full-time officer, but they want to do their part to kind of help out the club. So certainly that's something if you want to do, even if you don't want to be an officer, you can say, look, I don't have time to do all that. I've got some kids. I'm married. I got a job. But what can I do? Can I get on a committee to help you guys do anything? And certainly we'll find a place for you. We'll always find a place for somebody who wants to help out and get them involved. So last thing we're going to talk about tonight is next year's tournaments. We have the kind of the format down between the Angler of the Year and the Championship Series. Our Fallen Tide and Paddlepalooza are essentially pretty much set in stone. Well, at least Paddlepalooza is. Minimalist Challenge is set in stone as well. That's going to be in Leeville mid-January. Haven't set the date yet. I'm going to get that date out probably the next week or so. And that format's going to be the same. Where you're going to show up. We'll have a limited number of entries. I think last year it was 135. And so we'll probably have another 135. I think we're able to do that depending on our sponsors. The baits are typically donated by a sponsor. Everybody gets the same bait. You don't know about it till the morning of the tournament. You'll get your bag. Generally 5 baits and kind of a hard bait, maybe a spoon or a top water or something of that nature. And those are the baits you're going to fish with. And it's a shotgun launch out of the Leeville public launch down there. So that one is just a great tournament. We get a lot of people fishing it. It sells out, I think, every year for the last 4 or 5 years. So that one's kind of set in stone. What's not set in stone are our other 3 tournaments. So, and that's kind of like what I'd like to hear from you tonight. If you've got any ideas about some tournaments, maybe you can comment on places you want to fish that you think would make a good location for a tournament, the type of tournament you'd like to see, the format for that tournament. What we like to do is have at least one redfish tournament. We also like to have one trout tournament and, one kind of mixed tournament. It could be a slam. It could be a redfish trout. Could be whatever we want it to be. A couple of years ago, we had a Midnight Madness tournament. Last year, we had a Double Trouble tournament with a team tournament. That was a lot of fun, and we kind of like to change things up a little bit so it doesn't we don't fall in any kind of routine, and we kind of mix things up. The other thing we want to hear from you about is a championship format as far as location, where you would like to see a championship tournament fished out of. Just keep in mind when we're looking at a championship site, we're looking for something that's going to be a shotgun launch. We're looking for something with hotels either on the site or close by so people can stay a night or two, and essentially an area where everybody can kind of hang out for 2 nights, because that's really what it's about. It's great that we got these great prizes and a lot of people want to qualify for it, and just because it's a great experience, kind of an end of the year thing. So we're looking at doing something like that. We'd like to get your ideas on that. I've got another idea that Tyler and I bounced around. It's too late to do it this year, but we saw them doing it in the Hobie Bass Open. I think we talked about we may want to incorporate that next year to add a little maybe 5th chance for some people to get into the championship tournament. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that and see the kind of interest we get on that and how people feel. And then we may end up adding that into our slated tournaments next year. So, Jonathon, tell me, you've been fishing down in Louisiana a couple of years now. You've been fishing with the club a couple of years. What type of what area do you like to fish, and what kind of tournament would you like to see?
Well, I mostly fish up and down Highway 23, and then recently been fishing Hopedale and Shell Beach a good bit. I think something unique, maybe and fun for most people, maybe would be like a redfish bass tournament as maybe the hybrid option, like you were saying. That'd be pretty neat.
Yeah, we did something similar to that a couple years ago, Tyler. Was it the Redfish 6-pack or Redfish Rumble 6-pack or something?
Yes. Yeah, it was something like that. I think it was 3 reds and then 3 bass. I think you had a choice of 3 bass or
3 bass or 3 trout.
Right.
Actually, it was 6 fish.
Right.
And it could be 2 reds, 2 trout, 2 bass, I think, or it just one fish could not exceed 3. So you could actually take your choice, and it was kind of interesting. I remember Don Dubuque came on. He was talking about that tournament. He was scratching his head. This is kind of a weird format.
Like, it's a weird format. Redfish and bass. Huh? You don't see that
redfish, trout, and bass, and you can catch 2 of each. It was a weird format, but yeah, we had fun. I think in my area that I was fishing, because you bring up a good point, Jonathon. I mean, if you're in Delacroix, you're catching bass and redfish. But if you go over to Hopedale, there's a good shot you're going to catch trout or redfish. Or Reggio trout, redfish, just depending on the time of year. So that's certainly an interesting idea if we did a 3 bass, 3 redfish type of tournament or something similar. We get any comments tonight about what anyone else is thinking, Tyler?
Nothing right now, no.
Yeah.
Maybe a flounder only tournament down Highway 23.
Flounder only tournament would draw 5 people, you and probably 4 of the officers. But it would be nice to add maybe a flounder, like it could be a slam tournament, but heaviest weight. I've thought about something like that where Paddlepalooza and Fallen Tide, you have to have the slam, and a 3 fish will place higher than any 2 fish, no matter the weight. But a slam tournament where the heaviest weight controls. So if you have a big trout and you have a big redfish, you don't have to worry about the flounder. That could be something interesting.
We got one comment. Eddie Tier says, I'd like to see redfish and bass tournament in the springtime in St. Bernard and a trout challenge in the fall, basically swapping the 2 from this year, which is basically what we did previously to this year.
That's what we had done.
Do redfish rumble in the spring and the trout tournament in the fall, and we kind of switched it this year.
We did. One of the reasons was the trout are a little bit unpredictable. And last year we had moved our trout tournament into November, and no one caught a trout. We had a gale force windstorm come through, and not one trout was caught. So that was disappointing. So I think it was actually Chuck's idea to move trout challenge up to March this year, and that went over real well. I think it was very successful. So. But certainly that's an idea to keep in mind.
We got a few more. Francis Tran would like to see a hardhead tournament.
Of course.
Chris Landry says, if we have a flounder-only tournament, we're going to need to get some more skunk hats. And then Douglas Blanda said maybe throw a sheep's head in the mix.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting tournament, a sheep's head tournament. I mean, a lot of dead shrimp being used in that one, I think.
You could maybe do a late summer Lake Pontchartrain jack fishing tournament, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, we've every year we want to do a Lake Pontchartrain tournament, and every year it's one of those things where they open the spillway and no one's fishing the lake. Or you got to catch on the right day, because if you don't catch on the right day, that lake is just unfishable. You never know when the trout are coming in. The lake is an incredible place to fish if you can catch on the right day. It's just so hard getting on the right day and planning it a year in advance, because you never know what's going to happen. But we did talk about doing an outcast tournament like that, where if you're looking at a week before and you can go fish the trout, like in the trestles, maybe in October, sometime in the spring when they're long out there. Be a great outcast, because that's something that we would probably do. Announce it, man. The weather's looking great for next weekend. We can do, this on that weekend. So, but it's something that we've talked about a lot. It's just never seems to be able to come to fruition because of the weather and other events coming through.
Yeah, Lake Peak can be pretty unforgiving.
Yeah, it can be real bad, especially in a kayak. You get water in, and So
we talked about including it in boundaries, say like St. Bernard and Lake Pontchartrain. That way you have a plan B if for some reason it's just a really bad weather day.
yeah, I mean that's one thing we could look at is if we do a trout tournament in the fall in St. Bernard, something like that, we could include Lake Pontchartrain in that area. Now I'll tell you what, if the trout are running and someone actually gets to fish the lake, they're going to win. I mean, they're going to catch some big trout in that lake if the trout are there. So that's certainly something we could kind of keep in mind if we want to include that in the boundaries. I think that'd be a fun idea. All right, guys. Well, I think we're wrapping up. We're coming on an hour now. So we will be back in 2 weeks. It's going to be the Tuesday before the championship, here to answer any questions you have, go over any of the rules. I've already reached out to a potential guest for that night. I'm hoping he can come on. I'd really like to talk a little bit about.
I think if you call him out right now, he'll feel obligated, and he has to come.
You think he'd feel obligated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to say Steve's name on the air. I mean, oh shit. So anyway, if we can get our special guest on 2 weeks from now, I hope to have him come on and talk to us a little bit about wintertime trout fishing. It's really not going to be cold. Hopefully not till December, January. But the guy knows how to catch cold water trout, and it'd be nice to get some lessons coming in before it gets cold out there. So a lot of guys put away their fishing equipment come December and January, but those can actually be some real good months to catch some trout when they all start stacking up. So I'm hoping we can get him on. I know Steve mentioned to me that he wants to come on. We'll just see if his schedule will align and allow him to come on. Other than that, we will see you guys in 2 weeks, and just be keeping an eye out on the board on Facebook for any updates on the championship or anything of that nature. Jonathon, again, thanks for coming on tonight. Be safe while you're out there, man. And we will be seeing you at the championship in about 3 weeks or so.
I'll see y'all there. If anybody knows how to fish Leeville, I could show you how to fish for flounder if you show me how to fish Leeville.
I tell you what, as soon as we figure it out, we will let you know.
Minimalist was tough this year.
Minimalist is tough every year, except for about 5 people. So, we spread out the love, though. We spread out the love. This year it was Leeville. Bite my teeth, bite my tongue. But, this year's Leeville. Last year was Highway 23. So we'll see where we end up next year. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on, and we will see y'all later on.
All right, see you
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
All right.